if you're getting pulled by multiple stakeholders at once, and on top of that, your team keeps asking, so what are we going to be focusing on this week? Or what's going to be the objective for this quarter? This video is for you, and it will save you at least a couple hours in this next week, as well as stress. Because prioritization is not about not having a plan. It's more about making the trade-offs the business is doing visible for your team. In the next few minutes, I'll share a simple script and some step-by-steps talking about because, so, and not now that will help you share that clarity with your team. Hi everyone, Silvia here, your inclusive leadership mentor, and this week's Lead Nudge, we're gonna be focusing on making trade-offs visible for your team. This tool is actually for those moments when we feel that everything is important, right? And sometimes we might be getting multiple requests that are coming from, let's say, top down, and everybody has a quick ask for you, and maybe your team is trying to be helpful and trying to resolve all that, but somehow the week becomes a bit of a chaotic buffet of priorities where everything is just grab and play. So here is what I have done in the past. When trade-offs stay hidden, so maybe you receive that trade-offs from what the business is doing, your team starts to feel like they're not making impact, right? They're working very, very hard, but they're not making impact on the business. And a lot of times that happens because we fail to share the system behind. We fail to share what's actually relevant and what is going on behind scenes. The reality is that the business will always want everything done all at once. And that is great if you're leading robots, but we're not, right? We're leading people. And that means that time, energy, cognitive load, and sometimes there are just only a few of the things that are limited resources that humans have. That means that trade-offs are okay, and they're actually needed because nobody has unlimited resources, right? The thing here is that we as leaders need to name them out loud. We need to make them visible. And believe me, I know that make them visible and naming them can feel uncomfortable, especially because we want to be supportive to maybe some of our team's ideas that we wanted to support for them to go and explore, or maybe some projects related that some of them were leading and they might not be a priority anymore. So as leaders, we don't want to disappoint anyone, right? It's completely normal. But what happens is that when we name these trade-offs, then people waste less energy guessing what they need to focus on, and they spend more time and energy on what the business actually needs and what it is a priority for the business. Let me share a bit of a story related to this topic, because a couple years ago, I was leading actually a group of volunteers in an NGO, and one of my volunteers reached out, super motivated, full of energy, and she wanted to pitch a beautiful plan. She actually worked with her team of events. She was an events manager, and they wanted to create these big in-house events. We're talking about the type of event that need at least 6 to 8 months of planning because of the size, right? And honestly, I thought that was a great idea. I loved it. I wanted to attend these type of events. I wanted to be part of that community. And it made me really excited about it. Could this be like amazing for the community that we were leading? But as a board member, we had to say no. We had the conversation with my peer board members, and it was not because it was a bad idea, but because we were prioritizing other things that matter more in the organization at that time. We were actually transitioning from an association to an NGO, and we needed to do some business model change. And at that moment, I actually learned and I was able to highlight these important lessons, that saying no without context feels as a rejection for your team member. But sharing a not now with a clear trade-off is actually leadership. So what I learned is that instead of saying, no, we cannot do that, we had to explain the trade-off that we were making and how we were choosing that instead and what that meant. And what happens when we're able to explain what changed is that the conversation moves from disappointment to understanding that it's not no never, is that not now for any new project or any idea that comes. So before we go into the tool, because I know this was a little bit into a story, I want you to start thinking about a recent moment where maybe prioritization felt like an uncomfortable conversation. Maybe it was prioritization that you were that you were responsible for doing, or maybe you got already that prioritization from the business. But let's start thinking about that and think about a time when maybe you were being pulled in different directions and that meant that your team felt confused, because that's the moment that we're going to use for this following framework and exercise. So let's start. Step 1, we're going to start with a because. And that means sharing the context of what is going on in one sentence. No blah, blah, blah. Let's just be direct. And this is the why that helps people emotionally accept the decision. Some examples of this might be because our goal as a business or as a department this quarter is customer retention, or because the customer impact is highest here, or because we have limited capacity and we just cut the team in half, we're now protecting focus and ... So it's about keeping it short in one sentence, but really narrow it down to the why we're focusing on something. Which takes me to step 2. So this is a time for you to name what you're choosing, right? What good looks like. And this is what's gonna help your team to feel really connected to it. So some examples might be, so this week we're gonna be focusing on onboarding improvements for new customers. Or so success for us as a team, this means that we're gonna ship this new feature in the product by Friday, and we're aiming to reduce or to increase conversion rate by X. Or so the outcome that we want is for us to get a better response rate rather than a speed. So it's not only about sharing the why, but really sharing what exactly is it that's the trade-off that's being made. And then step number 3 is about the not now. So just sharing what's a priority without giving clarity on what we're letting go or what are we pausing is just adding layers on top of what people already doing, right? So that might give the perception to your team, if you're not deprioritizing something in their massive list of things, is that you're just adding layers of work to already the very heavy workload that they are having. So that's not really leadership. It's not like a really best practice. So what is important in this third step, the not now, is that you're deprioritizing and then you're letting them know when that's going to be reviewed again. Some of these examples that you can use to avoid frustration are, so what we're not going to do now is the website redesign. And instead, as I mentioned, we're going to do the customer onboarding. And we're going to revisit the website redesign in 4 weeks. Or, so what we're not going to do now is to add this new extra feature to the product release. And we're going to review that after 3 months after the product launch. Or what we're not going to do that, we're not going to do now is that we're going to focus on adding additional steps to the process. Instead, we're going to measure capacity of the team. What this does, so these 3 steps together, they mean that you're giving clarity on the why, you're letting the team know what is it that they're going to focus and what is it that they're not going to focus. So here are a couple options in which you can go about it. So let's put everything together. in this example. Because our priority is customer retention as a team, and this quarter actually, we're gonna be focusing on onboarding improvements for our new customers, and what we're not gonna do is the website redesign. And we're gonna revisit that in 4 weeks. Option 1. Option 2, let's make this more collaborative. So if we say yes, team, to this new customer onboarding, we're gonna need to delay X. Are we comfortable with that trade-off? So you're letting them know and you're making them a part of it. Either it's okay, it's up to the maturity of your team, it's up to the seniority of your team and how you handle that dynamic with them. If you're leading a team or managing a team, or maybe leading a cross-functional group, maybe not as their actual manager, but as a project leader, you could also say, as an example, because our capacity is limited and we want to deliver with quality, we're choosing to focus on 2 areas this month, area 1, area 2, and what we're not gonna do is we're gonna pause the event planning. We're gonna revisit that after we're done with the first 2 priorities. It's just clear and simple. You're explaining what the trade-offs are. Now, let's also talk about what are some of the common pitfalls, right? Because if we just say the not now, but we don't talk about when we're gonna revisit that, it sounds like, please don't bring this again, or this is a topic that we're not talking about. So that might impact your team's motivation, and we don't want that, right? So instead, what's important is to add, we're not gonna do this, but we will review this topic on X date, milestone, timeline. And even if the answer at that point stays, we're not gonna do that now, people are gonna trust you more because you're being transparent about it. And sometimes your team does not need more hype or motivation. It might be more about giving them an understanding on the trade-offs that are happening behind the scene and what the business cares about at the end of the day. So for this week, I want you to try maybe one of these examples. Maybe just think about a decision that you need to make or something that's coming from top down, and try to communicate and explain to your team what is actually going on. If you try it, please let me know how it goes. I'm curious about the not now that you're adding this week, because those are maybe the most challenging ones. But know that I have your back and I'm here if you need support. Remember to lead as you are, with courage, inclusion, and heart, you all.